Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, wherever, guys. While you're there, go ahead and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and join in the discussion. Don't forget dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com, and you can find me personally, SlimDayspring12, on Twitter and Instagram. Well, hello everyone. It is a simmering day here in Austin, Texas. Looks like it's about to storm though. What I saw from the forecast, clouds are moving in, and maybe it'll cool things down a bit because it is a hot one out there right now. It's pretty hot inside here too. We've come to that point of the day where me and my daughter have our daily fight about the schedule and what she's supposed to be doing at this point in the day. About once a day it usually happens, a little conniption fit, I guess you would call it, but we'll get back on track and get going from there. But hope you guys are all safe and doing well. Now on today's show, I'm going to do something that I've been working on for a while now. It was about, a week, almost 2 weeks ago maybe. I put a little survey up on the social media groups about a survey that this company One Poll had done. Now, for those of you who don't know, One Poll is a survey-led marketing research company specializing in online and mobile polling. It's got two offices, one in Bristol and one in London, so there's your credibility check right there for them. But they did a poll as far as superheroes, and not just superheroes, but supervillains, superpowers, basically taking a nationwide poll as far as what people's favorite superheroes are, their favorite supervillains, what powers they would want to have too. And I found it rather interesting, just kind of the results of all that. So it kind of led me to asking you out there what your favorite superheroes were, what your favorite supervillains were, what powers would you want, and then I asked the extra question of what your favorite super team was. And after I posted it online, I went a little further and I directly messaged all my friends and asked them, hey, what's your favorite superheroes, what's your favorite supervillains, etc. So I got a lot of response back from that. I got a couple of responses from online as well. And then I myself went and made my own list, actually. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run down the results of the One Poll list as far as what they have. I'm going to run down the list of results that I got from listeners and friends of what they think their favorite super people are. And then I'm going to run down my list as well, giving kind of my favorites as to why I like each hero too, or villain, or etc. So I'm going to do that. That's what today's show is going to be about, guys. Of course, if you didn't get a chance to participate in the poll and want to share your thoughts, definitely head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account. You can share your favorites there. I'd love to hear them. All right, so like I said, this poll just seemed interesting to me. Obviously I'm a big superhero, comic book guy. So the results that came in as far as America's favorites was very interesting for me and something that I definitely wanted to run down. So like I said, I want to run through the nationwide poll first, and then I will run down the results of my own survey. I'll do a top 10. I think I got like top 5 is what I did for most of them. But then I'll do my top 10 or so personally, actually. So starting off here, America's top 10 favorite superheroes based off the poll by One Poll marketing team. And number 1 comes Superman. No surprise. I guess number 2 is Spider-Man, which I guess has kind of been one of the top ones up there for a while now. But the Man of Steel made top of the list, being a big Superman fan. I was pretty jazzed about that. Maybe I was a little more jazzed that Batman wasn't even number 2. He was number 3 on the list. Not that I hate Batman. I don't hate Batman, but, a lot of Batman fans rag on Superman. So if I can, maybe give him a little jab every once in a while, you got to give me that at least. So number 4 was Captain America. I think it's great. Again, Superman and Captain America, top 5. No surprise by that, especially with the popularity of the MCU. Iron Man comes in at number 5. Again, most of the top 10 characters are very popular in the movie hemisphere and known by the general audience. So I'm not surprised really by the list, maybe the ranking a little bit, but the list is a pretty solid list of characters, to say the least. Number 6, you got Wonder Woman in there. Number 7, Aquaman, which, I'm an Aquaman fan too, of course. You'll find that out here in a little bit. But I'm glad that Aquaman made the top 10 out of all the superheroes that America could have picked from. I know, of course, they think of more the Jason Momoa Aquaman. I was outside a couple days ago. The neighbor boy was across the street there, and I had an Aquaman shirt on. It was classic looking Aquaman, blonde hair, clean shaven, orange shirt, that whole deal. And he looks at me and he's like, "Is that Aquaman?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Aquaman." He's like, "He doesn't look like Aquaman. He doesn't have long hair." I held back, trying to flip out on this little boy, of course, who knows what he knows is the Jason Momoa Aquaman, which as a Aquaman fan, I have some issues with the betrayal of Jason Momoa's Aquaman and stuff like that. But I gotta at least give him credit and the people at Warner Brothers credit that at least some version of Aquaman is up on the list there. Number 8, Captain Marvel. Big female superhero, no surprise there. So that's awesome. Number 9, Black Panther. Again, very popular character because of the movies and the MCU, so no surprise there. Number 10, everyone's favorite superhero bad boy, Wolverine, coming in, rounded out that top 10. Totally understandable. Great character, of course. Definitely deserves top 10. I was surprised, maybe top 5 even as far as overall. I know Captain America and Iron Man are up in the top 5 because of the popularity of the MCU, and they're the kind of the faces of it, or at least were. Wolverine, he's always been a very popular character in general in the comic books. But the X-Men movies haven't done as good as the MCU movies, so he's pushed back a little. Totally understand it. But that's the top 10 superheroes according to America's survey. Now, America's top 10 favorite villains. And it's no surprise by me, even though I don't think it's correct. Number 1, Joker, of course. Everyone loves the Joker for some goddamn reason. I don't know why. He's okay, but he's nowhere near a number 1 villain for me. Not even in my top 3, as you will learn. But I do see the appeal. I think the appeal is horrible, and I think it's the wrong kind of thing to look at. But Joker, number 1, favorite supervillain according to America's poll. Number 2, Catwoman. There's a couple of people on this list. You got to go back and forth if they're super villains or not. Catwoman is one of those people that, yeah, she steals stuff, and yeah, she gives Batman trouble, but, especially in the recent comic books, she's an ally to Batman, and they do good stuff together. So whether she deserves to be a number 2 villain, I don't know. Again, number 3, Venom, in the comics, more considered a hero. Obviously, if you look at his latest movie, he's more of an anti-hero. So, again, calling him a number 3 villain in the country, I don't think that would really count. Number 5, Lex Luthor, Superman's arch nemesis. He occasionally can do some good things, but for the most part, yes, he would be considered more of a villain. Definitely, I think he's more of a villain than Venom or Catwoman. And I just looked at, excuse me guys, I forgot. Number 4 was Thanos. Number 5 was Lex Luthor. My bad. Thanos, again, definitely more of a villain, but again, it's all from your perspective as far as what he wishes to accomplish and what he's trying to do. Jumping down to number 6, Magneto. Again, the best kind of villains, I think, are the ones that don't consider themselves a villain. They consider themselves of what they're doing being the good guy. And I think though these 3, Thanos, Lex Luthor, and Magneto, are definitely people who in their own mind think they're doing the right thing. Thanos, obviously going to, the MCU, thinks he's doing the right thing by trying to wipe out half of all humanity, okay? Lex Luthor thinks he's trying to build up Metropolis and make it a better place for everyone, and believes that Superman is this false idol that people should not worship. Again, thinking he's in the right. And Magneto, I mean, Magneto is just trying to liberate mutants and get freedom for mutants in his eyes. Unfortunately, he resorts to violence to do that, but he's definitely teamed up with the X-Men more than his fair share, and even led the X-Men at some point. So the view of being a villain is in the beholder. And while I consider these four great villains because they do bad things, but in their mind they do them for good reasons, and I think that's why they belong on the list more than I think, say, Catwoman or Venom as far as their ranking. Number 7, Penguin. Not much to say about that. Number 8, Harley Quinn. Might want to check local comics. Might even check, I would say, movies. Not much of a villain these days. Ever since she actually become popular, she's actually not much of a villain at all. So, number 9, Mystique. Definitely consider her a villain. I know if you're watching the X-Men movies, she's not much of a villain, but she's actually a really good X-Men villain, I believe. So just don't watch the recent X-Men movies, and I think she definitely deserves a spot on this list. And number 10, Loki. Again, a character who, in his eyes, believes he's doing things for the right reasons. He believes he's in the right because he believes he can be a better ruler than his brother. And so, again, that's a good trait of any villain. So I'll give him that. But there's your top 10 villains. Some of them questioned by me as far as ranking on the list, but there they are. All right, so superpowers Americans want most. Now, this was all pretty close. They actually gave percentage-wise on all of these. And all of them were very, very close. So number 5 was superhuman intelligence. Number 4, superhuman strength. Number 3, time travel. That's a dangerous one to have. That'd be very dangerous to have. Number 2, healing or regeneration. That'd be a nice one to have. And number 1, invisibility, of course. Not much. It's scrouched by healing and time travel, not by much, but it's the top one that Americans would like to have. I think it has to do with our nosiness and our need to eavesdrop and know everything, perhaps, but I'm not going to go any further than that. So there are the poll done by One Poll Marketing, superpowers, supervillains, and superheroes. And now it is time for my own survey, actually. So like I said, I sent out the same question on social media, on the Facebook group and Twitter account. I even directly text messaged a lot of the people that I know. And I got a good response, actually, from my friends. And then, like I said, a couple of people online responded back. So I would say this is probably the people I know is going to be, really what this group is. But I asked the extra question, too, that the one poll didn't ask, which was favorite superhero team to go along with it. So that was a little extra one that I added in there. So let's find out the results, starting with superheroes. Now, just to let you know, as far as the voting, anyone that's on the list, they had at least more than one vote. I got a lot of votes. People send me their list, and there are a lot of heroes and villains and other things that had only one person vote for them. So obviously didn't make the list. I'm not going to say how many each of these people had, how many votes they had at least, but the top 3 or 4, at least the top 5, were all pretty close as far as superheroes. But anyway, with the whole list, they had to have more than one vote to even be considered on this list at all. So superheroes, I'm going to go and give you the runners-up, were Captain Marvel and Iron Man. Runners-up on the list, okay? Number 5, Superman and Hulk. They tied for number 4 and 5 pretty much is what it was. They got the same amount of votes. Number 3 on the list was Wolverine. There you go. So moving up from the nationwide group, he was on number 10, comes in at number 3. Hulk wasn't even on the top 10 for the one poll group, so that's kind of nice. Number 2, Spider-Man. He was number 2 in the nation, number 2 with my group of friends. So I guess that's not surprising there. And of course, I already mentioned Superman and Spider-Man. So who else could it be but number 1, El Batman, at number one, according to the people that I know. So there you go. Super villains. A little surprised with some of these, actually. Runners up included Magneto and Bane and Doc Ock, or Dr. Octopus, I guess, as you would call him. Number 5, Lex Luthor, of course. You know, he's one of the best bad guys out there. Number 4, Killmonger made the list, actually. So, you know, the Black Panther villain. You know, again, it's a popular film, so I would definitely consider him, you know, not the best villain in the realm of comic book history, but as far as if you're looking at recent cinemas, again, the thing that makes a really good villain is someone who believes that they're doing the right thing. And definitely the film Black Panther made it seem like he believed he was in the right, and that's what made him so dangerous and what made him such a good villain. So in terms of movies, you know, he's on the list. Number 3, Green Goblin. A little surprised, you know. I mean, I don't think the Spider-Man films have done a great job portraying just how great of a villain Norman Osborn or the Green Goblin is. So I was a little surprised that he was on the list of, you know, my friends and stuff. But I'll give him kudos to that. You know, I think he is a great character in the comic books. Maybe just hasn't been that great in films. Number 2, Thanos. You know, again, popularity of the MCU, no question, of course. Thanos would probably be number 2 if you're looking at a general census, especially with some of the friends that I have. So, and I'm not going to debate that at all right now. In this current state of superhero films and where we're at and what's popular, Thanos, number 2, totally get it. And number 1, of course, was the Joker again. So the nationwide matched my own personal circle. Number 1, Joker. Okay, whatever. Whatever. I'll let it slide. Okay. All right, so moving on before I get to superpowers. Superhero teams. So I surveyed, you know, I asked that extra question, what are my friends' favorite superhero teams? And again, any one of them that had only one vote didn't make the list. So I don't have a top 5, actually, because there's only 2 hero teams that had more than one vote. And I was very surprised Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't on there. You know, that was kind of, it's a real popular one right now, so I'm surprised they weren't on there. Or even Justice League. Justice League didn't get more than one vote either, which I found surprising. But number 2 was X-Men. Great job, X-Men. But the one that almost everyone voted on, I mean, probably 8 out of 10 people or so voted for, of course, the Avengers. Makes sense. Again, with the current climate of the MCU, Avengers just makes sense. I can't blame my friends or anyone else in the general audience for voting for Avengers, so that makes sense there. All right, superpowers. Voted on by the people that I know. Runners up include super speed, which is weird because I'm going to spoil it for you. That's my number 1. Number 5 on the list is teleportation. Number 4, flying. Number 3, super strength. Number 2, regeneration, which goes along with the nationwide poll. Get that. And number 1, which wasn't even on the poll for the whole nationwide thing, telekinesis. Apparently, a lot of you want to be able to pick stuff up with your mind. Maybe you're just that lazy, I guess. You don't want to go get a beer from the fridge. You want to just think about it and it come to you, perhaps. You know, that's the way I see it, at least, for that matter. So there you have it, the top superpowers that the people I know would want, and that is the list of stuff from my friends. If you were listening to this and you know me and you didn't get your say, well, of course, you know, fire back on the social media groups and Gmail account and throw your 2 cents in, especially if you disagree with anyone on the ranking on the list, too. I'd love to have a good debate about it. And now we come to the portion of the show which is my own personal list. This isn't a nationwide poll. This isn't me asking my viewers or friends. This is just me making my own personal list. So I came up with 4 superpowers I want. Excuse me. So I came up with 3 superpowers I'd want, 4 of my favorite teams. I think I got 6 villains in there, and then I did, however, have a top 10 superhero list. So I'm going to start from the least important list in my eyes to the most important list, which is superpowers. Number 3, super strength. kind of a given, right? You can do a lot with something like super strength. Number two, telepathy, reading people's minds. I mean, I can only imagine, the things you'd be able to do with that. But my number one, and it's always been my number one power I've always wanted, super speed. It would solve so many things if you could have super speed, okay? Obviously, sports. You could become a professional athlete, just crush it if you had super speed. You could be a racer or whatever. You wouldn't need a vehicle. No vehicle because you could just run, right? I wouldn't need a vehicle. I don't need that car payment. I could just run places. If I wanted to go to, China for the day, I just run across the sea and go to China, no problem there. You could go in flash terms and maybe even add a little time travel if you get good enough, or vibrate through things as well if you're playing by those flash rules. But super speed, I think, would be the number one most useful one. Telepathy, I think, would be a very useful one as well. As far as my superhero teams, number 4, TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm a child of the 80s. I love the Turtles. I love the mixture of personalities. Great dynamic. Number 3, Teen Titans. Now, there have been several rosters of Teen Titans throughout the years. The one I personally like best, which is the one that kind of hit me when I was around a teenager, was the one that was written by Jeff Johns. You had Tim Drake, Robin, Connor Kent, Superboy, Bart Allen, Kid Flash, Wonder Girl, along with Beast Boy, Cyborg, Starfire. That group is kind of my Teen Titans, and whenever I want to read Teen Titans, that's the group I go to. Not to say that I don't like the others as well. I mean, Dick Grayson, Robin, Roy Harper as Speedy, Aqualad, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, aka Wally West. Totally a good group there too. But my Teen Titans is that Jeff Johns run. But I do like the other ones as well. What I like about just, Teen Titans in general is they're a young group of superheroes. And kind of like, again, why I like the show Young Justice so much is that, they don't have all the answers. They're still learning, just like we're all still learning in life, or at least I was around that age too, how to be an adult, or how to be a superhero, or how to not screw up as much. Just the nature of making mistakes, I guess, is what I like about them so much, which will lead into my number one team as well. So, all right, number 2, Fantastic Four. I gotta lie, I like the Fantastic Four. I've read quite a bit of Fantastic Four in my day. I find them interesting because they're a family. They're very family oriented. They bicker, they disagree, but really, when you get to the heart of it, there are different angles you can play with the Fantastic Four, but probably my favorite angle is the fact that Reed Richards is this kind of mind that comes along once, every couple of generations. He's the smartest human being alive, smarter than Tony Stark, and you have this group of people that will stick with him because they know that, because they know, given if he has the right support and has the right mindset, this man can accomplish anything. And they had something done to them where they blamed him for it. Even though in recent comics, you come to find out it wasn't his fault. Read some recent Fantastic Four, you'll find that out. But, even what's been done to them, what they can accomplish together and what they know Reed can accomplish is why they stay together. They're explorers. I always say the Avengers are true heroes trying to defend the world. The X-Men are, just trying to defend themselves. But the Fantastic Four are explorers, are scientists, have a completely different mission compared to the rest of the Marvel teams. And that's why I like them. All right, number 1, if you know me, obviously, my number 1 team is X-Men. It's kind of in the name. Sworn to protect the world that fears and hates them. I mean, why would you try to protect someone who does nothing but hates you and would like to see you dead? It's very, very much trying to rise above the situation and trying to be the better person. That's what Superman's about too, in my eyes, is always trying to rise above, to be the example, to be better than everyone else. And that's what X-Men means to me, is that, even though the people would rather see them dead, they'll still fight for them. What is the phrase? I may not share your beliefs, but I will defend to the death your right to believe them, or something like that. I know I totally screwed that up, but you know what I'm saying, right? Sworn to protect a world that fears and hates them. And with the X-Men, a lot of the X-Men have jumped back and forth between villain and hero status. And they play in that gray area a lot, which I think gives it a very much realistic tone to it. So again, that's why I like them. They're not clear-cut heroes. They definitely do things that might be questionable, but they do them because they believe sometimes you got to get your hands dirty. Moving on to my favorite super villains, my runners-up for my top 5 were Joker and Ra's al Ghul. Nope, Joker's not my number 1. He's not even in my top 5. Shocked, I know. Hit me up. Let me know. Give me some crap. Go ahead. I don't care. But those are my runners-up. So number 5 on my list, which, one of 2 Superman villains. Number 5, Darkseid. What I like about Darkseid is that he is the epitome of everything that Superman is against. He is, against freedom of will. He's about oppression, okay? He's about conquering. Everything Superman is against, but he's just as powerful, if not sometimes more powerful than Superman. It's not a character that Superman can hit and win for the most part. I mean, occasionally he might get the upper hand, but they're very evenly matched strength-wise. So it's one of the he can't beat up Darkseid and win the argument, which is something I really like about the character of Darkseid and how he goes against Superman. Number 4, Green Goblin. Why I like him, it has nothing to do with Spider-Man. Spider-Man I don't think even made, not even my top 10 list of superheroes. What I like about Green Goblin is this guy, Norman Osborn, is kind of like the Lex Luthor of the Marvel Universe. I think you can definitely say that. But he's a little bit unhinged because of the formula that turns him into Green Goblin. But he goes out of his way to make Peter Parker's life a personal hell. The biggest tragedies in Peter Parker's life have happened because of Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. And again, it's those personal attachments, the personal relationships to the hero that make the villain so great. Number 3, Lex Luthor, of course, Superman villain on there. The Superman villain, if you ask most people. He's a guy who's the exact opposite of Superman, kind of like Darkseid, but on the other side, Superman was an alien, flew to Earth, raised by poor farmers, was brought up to have, high morals and look for the good in everyone, where Lex Luthor, depending on the origin, came from money, had to lie, cheat, and steal to get his way to the top, and he believes that Superman, he takes away from some of his thunder. Like, Lex Luthor has deemed himself the savior of Metropolis and wants to be the savior of the world. One of the smartest people in the DC universe as well, and all he wants to do is take down Superman because he sees the threat of Superman as someone as a false god, which he shouldn't be, and someone who own existence lets him know that there are greater powers out there besides Lex Luthor that he may not be able to beat. And the threat of that terrifies Luthor, which is why I think he hates Superman so much. Number 2 on my list, Dr. Doom, which, again, it goes to his relationship to Mr. Fantastic. This is a guy who, again, is one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. And, he uses that intellect to try to make himself a supreme being on multiple occasions. He tries to upstage Mr. Fantastic. And that's one of those things, too, is he is a really smart guy, but he is jealous of Reed Richards because he knows he's not as smart as Reed Richards, and that's what drives him crazy. Yes, he had the accident where he, feels like he has to cover his face up so people don't see him. But again, he's a smart guy. He rules his own country, for God's sakes. And he still always feels inferior to Reed Richards. And again, one of those guys that sometimes is played as a hero too. So there's a lot to play with Dr. Doom, and I just like him as a character. But my number 1, of course, sticking with kind of that theme, Magneto, number 1 X-Men villain, a guy who has done some really, really horrible things in his life. But at the same time, you can be said that he does a lot of good things as well in the history of X-Men in the Marvel Universe too. It all depends on how you play it. It all depends on how you look at it. Again, Magneto's a guy who believes what he does is what's best for his people. He's just willing to do whatever it takes in regards to acts of violence to do it. So depending on where you stand on the means justifying the ends is going to depend on if you think Magneto's a true villain or not. But he's always my number one, has been my number one villain in comic books and superheroes for quite some time. All right, and my last list is going to be my top superheroes. I did a top 10. I didn't do top 10 with all the others, mainly because I couldn't think of 10 supervillains that I really, really like. I couldn't think of 10 super teams I really, really liked, but superheroes were very easy for me to do. I really had to whittle down this list quite a bit, actually. Now, 2 people on my top 10 have very much to do with the era I grew up in. I'll tell you that much right off from the bat. But I'm going to start off with number 11, the runner-up, Captain America, not Steve Rogers. Captain America in the MCU is my favorite hero, actually. But in the comic book world of superheroes, Bucky Barnes is my favorite Captain America. Written by Ed Brubaker. When he put on the shield, it was a guy who had a lot to atone for. Atonement. He had done some horrible, horrible things as the Winter Soldier. And when Steve Rogers passed, he trusted Bucky to wear the mantle of Captain America, to honor him, because he knew he would have that heavy burden on his shoulders, and that would keep him from doing the wrong thing, he'd be doing his best to honor Steve, to live up to the memory of Steve, and also, again, to atone for some of all the bad things that he has done. All right, so my actual top 10. Number 10, Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. Not Hal Jordan, not Jon Stewart. Kyle Rayner is my favorite Green Lantern. Number 10. Why? The Torchbearer. I mean, the phrase says it all, okay? Back in the day, Hal Jordan became Parallax. He completely destroyed the Green Lantern Corps. Only one ring made it out. That ring ended up in the hands of Kyle Rayner, a poor artist who was just trying to get by, who was in an alley at the right time at the right place, and was given the only Green Lantern ring left in existence at that time. And he had a big learning curve, made a lot of mistakes, but for a long time he was the only Green Lantern. And along the way, he gave up part of his power to restart the Green Lantern Corps. And then later on, he became the White Lantern, okay? The symbol of ultimate power in the universe as well, too. Just what he had to go through. I just love that about the character, about he wasn't chosen at all. You know, he probably was never going to be chosen to be a Green Lantern, but he took what was given to him and he made the best of it. And he ended up becoming one of the greatest Green Lanterns of all. Carried the torch, carried the light when no one else did. So that's why I like the character of Kyle Rayner. Number 9, Robin, Tim Drake. Again, I grew up on Tim Drake as Robin. That is my Robin. You have a character here who was smart enough to figure out who Batman and Robin were. So you got to give him credit for that. He's going in the shadow of Dick Grayson and the tragedy of Jason Todd. And that gives him kind of a burden right there, always questioning whether he's good enough. He's a great character in my eyes, and that's why I have him at number 9. Number 8, Barry Allen, The Flash, another character who just wants to do the right thing, you know, and he's always questioning himself, thinking he's not strong enough, but hoping that he is. That's why I believe Grant Gustin does a great job playing the character on the Flash TV series versus, say, Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller is a great, fun character to watch in the Justice League film, but that's not Barry Allen. That's not his personality traits, you know. Grant Gustin does a much better job of that than what, Ezra Miller does. So I got to give him that. But again, Barry Allen, a guy who just wants to do the right thing, who's always trying to be better than what he believes he is. All right, where am I at here? 10, 9, 8. Number 7, Star-Lord, otherwise known as Peter Quill. This is the guy, obviously, when they announced that they were going to make a Guardians of the Galaxy film. I know the name, I knew Rocket, but I didn't know a lot of other people. So I went and I started checking out Guardians of the Galaxy comic books before the film came out. And by the time the film came out, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I still read them, depending on, of course, who's writing them. But they're one of my, top 10 probably teams. I guess I probably should have put them in one of my favorite comic book teams earlier. But Peter Quill is a guy who, honestly, forget about the MCU. Well, maybe not completely, but I like him. He's a guy in space who is always out of his depth. He's a guy who is always in over his head. And over the years, his experiences has made him more resourceful. I get it. But you're talking about this normal Earthling who is in space fighting, Thanos and other people that are super powered, way more, that could just flatten him like a bug. And he still tries his best, still tries to save the universe just through strength of will, even though he really doesn't have any superpowers and he's just totally overmatched most of the time. But he gets by on his wit, his charm, and his perseverance. So I'll give him credit for that. Number 6 on my list, Superboy, Connor Kent. Again, kind of like Tim Drake. It was the era I grew up in that Teen Titans group. I remember Superboy from the reign of the Superman after the death of Superman, and I stuck with him ever since. I read his solo series, followed him to Teen Titans, cried during his death in Infinite Crisis. Oh my God. And then saw him come back as well. It was interesting, again, haven't seen him come back, how the world has changed. And again, another connection, of course, with his friendship with Tim Drake, the Superboy Robin friendship, which is carried on now by Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne. Very different relationship than what Tim and Connor had, but they always had that little friendship going on there. And again, going back to Tim, just what happened to him and what he went through. But anyway, Connor Kent, again, a character who is half Superman, half Lex Luthor. That you're talking about one of the world's greatest superheroes and one of the world's greatest supervillains. Which way do you choose? If it goes back to that age-old question, nature versus nurture. If you're part villain, does that mean you have that bad in you? Are you destined to go bad? Look at the Rise of Skywalker. You can answer some of those questions too. I think it goes back to down to what the human soul is we all have the ability to do really good things and really bad things that are inside of us, and we get to choose which one we do. And Connor Kent had that choice as well, and that's why I like him as a hero. Number 5 on my list, Nightwing, Dick Grayson. Really one of my favorite comic book characters ever. Obviously the original Robin, the original sidekick, the character who we are supposed to see through the lens of, have his point of view going along with ventures of Batman, went on to form his own team, the Teen Titans, led that team, grew up, and kind of decided that he didn't like the way Batman did things. That's not the type of person he wanted to be. So he broke out away from Batman's shadow, became his own hero, still led the Teen Titans, and, still is very close with Batman, definitely considered part of the Batman family, but does things differently than what Bruce does. So this character, the way he's matured, the way he's represented, I just like a lot, and that's why he's number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list, Matt Murdock, a.k.a. the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, a.k.a. Daredevil. Now, I will say this. The reason I like the character of Daredevil so much isn't having to do with the fact that he's technically blind and he overcomes it. The thing I love most about this character is this is a guy who, of course, he has super senses, which I think are really cool. But beyond that, he doesn't have any actual, abilities. He's a good fighter. One thing also I do like about this character too is he tries to do the right thing. But in doing so, he screws up worse most of the time. I mean, I'm going through right now and I'm rewatching the Netflix Daredevil series. I finished season 1, gonna start with season 2, and I love the show. You know, this guy who he wants to do the right thing. He wants to help people, both as a lawyer and as a vigilante. But he ends up screwing up worse. And really, that's so human. It's something we can all relate to, where we try to do the right thing, and we end up making the situation worse. So I got to give it to that one for Daredevil. Number 3, the King of the Seven Seas, Aquaman, Arthur Curry himself. The character, of course, born of two worlds, trying to bring both of them together. But really, I'm not going to lie. It's because it's Aquaman. It's because I am a swimmer at heart. I would live in the water. Just ask my wife or my parents or anyone who really knows me. I'm a creature of the sea. I belong in the water. No doubt about it. So a character like Aquaman, I've had that nickname as long as I can remember, because I do like superheroes and I am a swimmer. So that's a nickname I've had for quite some time. So I've always had an affinity for the character. I always said if I could have gills and fins, I totally would. And I'd totally make that sacrifice to get mutated into that. So Aquaman, I love the character. Not gonna lie, because I love the water. And you know what? He's finally getting some respect, mainly because of the movie, because of Jason Momoa, which is a character, I don't think is a good representation of the character, but it's better than nothing compared to what he used to be, where he used to be the butt of all the superhero jokes. So it's a step up in my eyes. But I will say this in regards to Jason Momoa, and I say this all the time. Any true swimmer knows that all that hair and the jeans and the boots that he swims with just slows you down, bud. That's all I'm going to say. Oh boy, I'm looking out my window. It's getting slowly and slowly darker as I've been doing this. And now it's so dark. I can start to hear the raindrops. I think it's about to pour down rain in the next 2 seconds here. I'm almost done, so maybe I can get this done. Maybe, unfortunately, if the power goes out, let me just go. Okay, so number 2, Cyclops. Scott Summers himself, my favorite X-Men, my second favorite superhero of all time. Again, people that know me know I've explained this several times. Well, why I don't go towards the anti-heroes, the Batmans, the Iron Mans, the Wolverines, the Punishers. Those aren't my guys. My guys are the Superman, the Cyclopses, the Captain Americas, even the Flash, Barry Allen. Like I've said, people who try to rise above, people who try to do the right thing, always, because doing the right thing, doing the better thing, is the hardest thing to do. And that's why I like those characters, just because as I've grown up, I do believe in that mentality that doing the right thing is the hardest thing. Doing the selfless thing is the hardest thing to do. So that's why I like characters like Cyclops instead of characters like Wolverine, where Wolverine is still a great character who does many, many selfless things. Definitely. But he's definitely more of a hard-edged character compared to Cyclops. But, if you look at Scott Summers within the last decade or so, he's become quite the hard-edged character. He's been considered a villain a lot of the times, too, in recent years. But he's a guy who is a leader at heart. He was trained to be a leader by Professor Xavier going back to his young teenage years, who, when he found Scott, Scott was a skinny nobody who just couldn't control this laser coming out of his eyes. And Professor taught him to not only control that, but to have confidence, to lead, to be a great fighter. And that's what he is. He's a guy who's willing to make the tough call, to do what must be done, to save his team, to save his people. Not quite as extreme as Magneto, but in recent years, maybe a little bit more hard-edged than Professor Xavier. However, with the recent Jonathan Hickman run of X-Men, he's back to being more of a captain next to Xavier and Magneto. But still, he's a guy who doesn't put up with any crap. I will say that. He doesn't put up with Wolverine's crap. He doesn't put up with Magneto's crap. He knows what needs to be done. He knows what the right thing to do is, and he will do whatever he has to do it. And anyone who isn't on his team, get the fuck out of his way. So I'll give him credit for that. Oh, looks like the wind's picking up outside. Good thing I took those sandbags that my wife had and fastened down the trampoline. So kudos to me for that. All right. Number one superhero, no surprise to anyone, of course, is going to be the Man of Steel himself, Clark Kent, Kal-El, the last son of Krypton, the Man of Tomorrow, Superman. And, anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Superman guy. And a lot of people give Superman a lot of crap, because, oh, he's so powerful, nothing's ever challenging for him. Anyone who knows a good Superman story is about challenging him on the inside, challenging his belief, making it personal, giving him a situation that he can't punch his way out of. That's how you make a good Superman story. And that's why I think there are so few Superman stories compared to other ones. I mean, even in Batman, like when I read a Batman comic book, my favorite Batman stories are something that make it personal, not just hey, the villain's trying to blow up the city or whatever, and Batman's gonna stop him. No, make it personal. Make it like his best friend is the villain, and he wants to stop him, but he doesn't want to kill him. Those kind of stories are much better, and Superman is no exception. You have to make it personal for him. Question his belief. Teeter him to the edge of what he believes, and that's how you get a good Superman story. He's a guy who was raised to do the right thing, and like I keep on saying, the right thing is always the hardest thing. So that's what challenges him. That's why I like him as a hero, while he tries to rise up and be that example, much like his father Jor-El wanted him to be, much like his parents want him to be. Everyone looks up to, and that alone has the burden on him, and the burden that he is the most powerful being on Earth, one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe. He can save so many people and wants to constantly save everyone, but he can't save everyone, and that's the true burden of him, is that he can save so many, but he can't save everyone. And that's what he learned, from when his father died of a heart attack. Yes, that's right, Zack Snyder. A heart attack, not a fucking tornado. Jesus Christ. Anyway, his father died of a heart attack. And that's when he had to learn from a young age that he can save so many people, but he can't save everyone. And that's his burden. So, number one, Superman. Of course, America agrees with me. I think America agrees with me for different reasons than the ones I just said. But I'll take the win any way I can. Well, that is it for me, guys. That is my own personal list. My friends shot me their personal list. If you haven't done that, you can fire back in the social media groups and Gmail account. I would love to hear them. What teams you like, what powers you want, what villains you like, and of course your favorite superheroes. Dayspring Discussions at gmail.com is there if you want to fire back on that. And that is going to be it for me today, guys, because it looks like it's about to storm. I got to go check on my child and make sure she hasn't sawed off her leg or something like that. You guys are having a safe and wonderful quarantine time. Hope you haven't killed your family or your children like I might have to do before this is all over. Just be good, guys, to each other, help each other out, because that's, how we're going to get through this, by being safe, being responsible, and being good to each other. All right, guys, go out, have a good weekend, have a good life, and until next time, may the force be with us all.